What if your mind became so strong that nothing, not doubt, fear, or failure could shake it? Imagine walking into every situation knowing you cannot be broken, only built stronger. That kind of power doesn't come from luck or talent. It's forged in silence, through discipline, self-control, and a refusal to let the world dictate your worth. Most people crumble when pressure rises, but those with a strong mind, they get sharper. They don't react, they respond. They don't seek comfort, they create growth. And while others chase approval, they move with quiet certainty, knowing strength needs no audience. This isn't arrogance, it's awareness. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Seneca reminded us, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And Epictetus taught, "No man is free who is not master of himself." They all pointed to one truth. Mental mastery is the ultimate freedom. In a few moments, you will learn how to build that kind of unshakable mindset, how to think, speak, and act with such conviction that doubt itself hesitates to approach you. You'll discover how to stay calm when chaos hits, how to see pressure as preparation, and how to make your silence more powerful than other people's noise. Because once your mind becomes your strongest weapon, the world stops being your enemy and starts being your playground. So from today, train your mind like a warrior, because a calm, focused, and fearless mind terrifies the weak. 1. Read every single day. Most people say they want to be smarter, but they never pick up a book. They talk about learning and growing, but when the day ends, they have not read a single page. Your mind is like a muscle in your body. If you never exercise it, it becomes weak and slow. If you never challenge it with new information, it stays small and powerless. Reading is the fastest way to build a mind that nobody can compete with. It is the secret weapon that separates ordinary thinking from extraordinary thinking. Reading fills your brain with new ideas and knowledge that most people will never have. Every page you read makes your thinking sharper and your understanding deeper. When others are wasting time on activities that teach them nothing, you are growing stronger in ways they cannot see. Your vocabulary expands. Your ability to solve problems improves. Your understanding of how the world works becomes clearer with each chapter. Books contain the wisdom of people who spent entire lifetimes learning important lessons. When you read their words, you gain their knowledge without having to live through all their struggles and mistakes. The beautiful truth about reading is that it compounds over time. One book might teach you 10 new ideas. Another book builds on those ideas and adds 10 more. After a year of daily reading, you have learned hundreds of concepts that most people will never encounter. Your mind becomes a library of useful knowledge while others remain empty. This knowledge helps you make better decisions, have deeper conversations, and see opportunities that others walk right past without noticing. Start by reading for just 15 minutes each morning before you do anything else. Make this happen before you eat breakfast or get dressed for the day. Choose books that teach you something valuable about the world, about people, or about skills you want to master. Do not waste your precious reading time on stories that entertain you but teach you nothing useful. Pick books about history, science, philosophy, business, or any subject that fascinates you and makes you think. Never stop learning, even when the book feels difficult. The hard books are often the ones that make your mind grow the strongest. Keep your book in a place where you will see it first thing when you wake up. Make reading easier than not reading. If you wait until you feel like reading, you will rarely do it. Motivation comes and goes like the weather. Discipline stays forever. Build the habit so strongly that skipping a day feels wrong and uncomfortable. Benjamin Franklin read every chance he got, even when he was a young printer with barely any money. He could not afford to buy books, so he borrowed them from anyone who would lend them to him. He stayed up late reading by candlelight after working all day. Sometimes he skipped meals to save money for a book he desperately wanted. By the time he was older, His mind was so powerful that he helped create a whole new nation. He became a scientist, inventor, writer, and leader because reading built a mind strong enough to accomplish impossible things. He proved that reading builds a mind that can change the world, no matter where you start in life. 2. Write down your thoughts every day. Your thoughts bounce around inside your head like wild animals in a cage. They run in circles, repeat themselves, and crash into each other without making any sense. Until you capture them on paper, they control you instead of you controlling them. Most people let their thoughts remain a tangled mess their entire lives. They never organize what they think or believe. Writing forces your brain to think clearly and make sense of confusion. It transforms chaos into order. When you write, you discover what you truly believe and what you need to work on. Ideas that seem brilliant in your head often look silly when you see them written down. Problems that felt huge and impossible become smaller and more manageable when you describe them with words on paper. Writing makes you confront the truth about yourself. You cannot hide from your own words. Your mind becomes organized instead of messy. This practice makes you understand yourself better than anyone else understands themselves. People will notice how clearly you think and speak because your thoughts have been trained through daily writing. Writing also helps you track your growth over time. When you write about your problems today, then read those words 6 months later, you realize how much you have learned and changed. You can see patterns in your behavior. You notice the same mistakes appearing again and again. This awareness is the first step toward fixing them. Without writing, these patterns stay invisible, and you keep making the same errors forever. Take 10 minutes before bed and write about your day, your problems, or your dreams. Do not worry about perfect spelling or beautiful sentences. This is not a school assignment that someone will grade. Just get your honest thoughts onto the paper. Write about what made you angry, what scared you, what excited you, and what confused you. Write about the person you want to become and the obstacles standing in your way. Write about your biggest fears and your deepest wishes. Keep these writings private so you can be completely truthful without worrying about what others might think if they read your words. The power of this practice grows slowly but steadily. The first week might feel pointless. You might think you are just wasting time scribbling obvious thoughts that mean nothing. Keep going anyway. After a month, you will notice your mind becoming clearer. After 3 months, you will start solving problems faster. After a year, you will barely recognize the confused person who started this journey. I know a person who writes every single night without missing a day. After 1 year of this practice, this person solved problems that had confused them for their whole life. Their thinking became so clear and organized that others started asking them for advice about everything. Friends who used to ignore their opinions now sought their wisdom. This person became known as the wise one in their circle simply because they took 10 minutes every night to write down their thoughts. The practice transformed an ordinary mind into something remarkable. 3. Do the thing that scares you most. Fear keeps most people small and weak their entire lives. They run away from anything that makes them uncomfortable or nervous. They avoid difficult conversations, new challenges, and unfamiliar situations because these things create anxiety in their chest and stomach. But fear is just a feeling, and feelings can be controlled. Fear is not a monster that forces you to obey it. It is simply a signal from your brain trying to protect you from danger. When you face your fears directly instead of running away, your mind grows stronger than steel. Avoiding fear teaches your brain that you are weak and helpless. Every time you back down from something scary, you send a message to yourself that says you cannot handle hard things. Your brain learns to make you even more afraid next time. The fears grow bigger and bigger until they control your entire life. Soon you are afraid of dozens of things that never actually hurt anyone. You build a prison out of fear and lock yourself inside. Facing fear teaches your brain that you are powerful and capable. When you do something that terrifies you and survive it, your brain realizes the fear was lying. The terrible thing you imagined did not happen. You handled the situation just fine. Every time you do something scary, your confidence grows and your limits expand. Your brain starts to trust you more. Eventually, nothing feels impossible anymore. You become the kind of person who tries new things without hesitation, while everyone else stays frozen in place. Fear loses its power when you face it repeatedly. The first time you do something scary, your heart pounds and your hands shake. The second time feels slightly easier. By the 10th time, the fear has shrunk to almost nothing. This is how people become brave. They are not born without fear. They simply face their fears over and over until the fears become powerless. Make a list of things that frighten you. Write down everything from small fears to massive terrors. Pick the smallest fear on your list and do it this week. Feel the fear completely, but do it anyway. Let the fear wash over you like a wave, then act despite it. Then pick the next fear on your list and conquer that one too. Keep going until fear becomes your friend instead of your master. Use fear as a signal showing you exactly what you need to do to grow stronger. Eleanor Roosevelt was terrified of speaking in front of groups, but she forced herself to do it anyway. Her voice shook and her hands trembled every single time she stood before a crowd. She gave hundreds of speeches, even though the fear never completely disappeared. But by facing this terror over and over, she became one of the most powerful and respected women in history. She proved that you do not need to eliminate fear to accomplish great things. You only need to act despite the fear. Her courage came from action, not from the absence of fear. 4. Question everything you have been taught. Most people believe whatever they are told without ever stopping to think about whether it makes sense. They accept ideas just because everyone else accepts them or because an authority figure said so. They never examine beliefs to see if they are actually true. They follow the crowd blindly like sheep following each other off a cliff. But a strong mind does not follow blindly. It asks hard questions and searches for real truth, even when that truth is uncomfortable or unpopular. When you question beliefs, you separate what is actually true from what is just popular opinion. You start thinking for yourself instead of letting others think for you. This makes your mind independent and free from manipulation. People will be afraid of you because you cannot be controlled by simple lies or emotional appeals. You see through propaganda and false logic that tricks everyone else. Your ability to think clearly makes you dangerous to anyone trying to spread falsehoods. Questioning everything does not mean rejecting everything. It means examining ideas carefully before accepting them. Some beliefs will hold up under examination and prove to be true. Others will crumble when you look at them closely. The goal is not to become cynical and trust nothing. The goal is to build a mind that knows the difference between truth and lies. A questioning mind is a powerful mind. Every time someone tells you a fact, ask yourself if it is really true. Look for evidence that supports the claim. Look for evidence that contradicts it. Consider the opposite viewpoint and see if it makes more sense. Think deeply before you decide what to believe. Never accept an idea just because it sounds nice or because important people say it. Important people are wrong all the time. Popular opinions change with the seasons. Only truth remains constant. Ask yourself who benefits from you believing certain ideas. If someone is trying to convince you of something, what do they gain if you agree with them? This question reveals hidden motives that people try to disguise. Someone selling you something has a reason to exaggerate its benefits. Someone in power has a reason to convince you they deserve that power. Always look beneath the surface to find the real reasons behind the words. Read arguments from people who disagree with each other on important topics. Study both sides carefully. Notice which arguments use solid evidence and clear logic. Notice which arguments use emotional manipulation and logical fallacies. Train your mind to spot the difference. The more you practice this skill, the sharper your thinking becomes. Galileo questioned what everyone believed about the stars and planets. For thousands of years, people accepted that Earth sat at the center of everything while the sun and stars revolved around it. This belief felt obvious and natural. Everyone important agreed with it. The powerful leaders of his time told Galileo to stop asking questions and accept what everyone knew to be true. But he refused to stop questioning. He looked through his telescope and gathered evidence. His questions proved that the old beliefs were completely wrong. His mind was so strong and independent that it changed how humans understand the entire universe. He paid a terrible price for his questions, but he refused to lie about what he discovered. His independent thinking mattered more than his comfort or safety. 5. Learn to love your mistakes. Most people hate making mistakes so much that they stop trying new things. They play it safe and never risk failing at anything important. The fear of being wrong paralyzes them into doing nothing bold or creative. They would rather stay stuck in a comfortable rut than risk the embarrassment of failure. But mistakes are not your enemy. They are your greatest teacher, showing you exactly what you need to learn. A mind that learns from failure becomes unstoppable because it improves with every setback. Every mistake shows you exactly what does not work, which brings you closer to discovering what does work. Success is often just failure plus lessons learned. When you stop fearing failure, you become free to try bigger and bolder things. You can experiment and test new approaches without the crushing weight of perfectionism holding you back. Your growth speeds up dramatically while everyone else stays stuck in the same safe place year after year. People who never fail are people who never try anything difficult. A life without mistakes is a life without growth, challenge, or achievement. The biggest failures often come right before the biggest breakthroughs. Many people quit right at this crucial moment, never knowing how close they were to success. Learning to love mistakes means learning to see them as stepping stones rather than roadblocks. When you make a mistake, do not feel ashamed or give up in despair. Instead, study what went wrong like a detective solving a mystery. Ask yourself what you can learn from this experience. What warning signs did you miss? What assumptions turned out to be false? What would you do differently next time? Write down the lesson you learned so you never forget it. Then try again with your new knowledge and improved approach. Make this a habit and you will learn faster than anyone around you. While others are avoiding mistakes, you are collecting valuable lessons. Mistakes also teach you humility and empathy. When you fail at something, you understand how hard certain challenges truly are. You become less judgmental of others who struggle with similar problems. You develop compassion and patience. These qualities make you a better leader and friend. People trust and respect those who have failed and learned rather than those who have never tried anything difficult. The key is failing forward. Some people make the same mistakes over and over because they never stop to learn the lesson. They blame bad luck or other people instead of examining their own choices. This is pointless suffering that teaches nothing. Failing forward means extracting the lesson from every mistake and using it to improve. Each failure should make you smarter and stronger, not more defeated. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times trying to create the light bulb that would work reliably. People laughed at him and called him a fool, wasting his time on an impossible dream. Investors pulled their money away. Critics said he should give up and admit defeat. But he said every failure taught him something valuable about what does not work. He learned from each attempt and tried a different approach next time. Because he loved learning from mistakes instead of fearing them, he eventually succeeded and created an invention that lit up the whole world. His persistence through failure changed human civilization forever. Those who laughed at his mistakes are forgotten. His name lives on because he refused to let failure stop him from trying again. 6. Stay calm when everyone else panics. When trouble comes crashing into their lives, most people lose complete control of their minds. They panic, yell, or freeze like frightened rabbits caught in danger. Their emotions flood their brain and wash away their ability to think clearly. But the person who stays calm in chaos becomes the leader everyone follows. A calm mind is a powerful weapon that cuts through confusion and fear to find solutions. Calmness in crisis is a superpower that most people never develop. Panic makes you stupid and helpless. Your brain stops thinking logically and starts reacting emotionally. You make terrible decisions because fear has taken over the controls. You cannot solve problems when panic is screaming in your head. Calmness lets you think clearly and find solutions even when the situation looks hopeless. When you master your emotions instead of letting them master you, you can handle any situation that life throws at you. This inner peace terrifies people who are controlled by their feelings because they cannot understand how you remain steady while they fall apart. Staying calm does not mean you do not care about the problem. It means you care enough to think clearly so you can actually fix it. Panic feels like action but accomplishes nothing useful. Calmness looks like inaction but is actually focused thinking leading to effective solutions. The calm person assesses the situation, considers options, and takes purposeful action. The panicking person runs in circles accomplishing nothing while feeling busy. Practice staying calm during small annoyances first. When something frustrating happens, take 3 deep breaths before you react. Notice your angry feelings rising inside you, but do not obey them immediately. Observe them like a scientist watching an interesting experiment. Feel the anger or fear fully, but create a small gap between the feeling and your response. Train yourself to pause and think before you speak or act. This pause is where your power lives. Over time, this skill becomes automatic and expands to handle bigger problems. Build your calmness muscle with daily practice. Sit quietly and breathe slowly for 10 minutes each morning. When your mind starts racing with worries and plans, gently bring it back to your breath. This teaches you that you control your attention does not control you. The more you practice this skill in peaceful moments, the easier it becomes during stressful moments. Remember that most emergencies are not actually emergencies. People panic over situations that are merely inconvenient or uncomfortable. They treat small setbacks like catastrophes. A calm mind recognizes the difference between a true emergency requiring immediate action and a problem that simply needs patient thinking. This discernment prevents you from wasting energy on false alarms. Watch how calm people move and speak during trouble. They slow down instead of speeding up. They lower their voice instead of raising it. They ask questions instead of making assumptions. They gather information before deciding on action. These habits signal to everyone else that the situation is manageable, which reduces panic in the whole group. George Washington stayed perfectly calm, even when his army was losing battles and his soldiers were starving and deserting. The British forces were stronger, better equipped, and better trained. Many of his officers wanted to surrender and go home. While others panicked and wanted to quit, Washington made clear decisions and kept everyone together through sheer force of calm leadership. His calmness under terrible pressure made him the father of a nation. If he had panicked like everyone else, America might never have won its independence. His steady mind in chaos changed the course of history. People followed him not because he promised easy victory, but because his calmness gave them hope, even in the darkest moments. 7. Think for yourself instead of copying others. Most people are like sheep in a massive herd. They wear what everyone wears, think what everyone thinks, and do what everyone does. They watch what is popular and immediately copy it without question. They are terrified of being different or standing out from the crowd. But original thinking is what creates everything valuable in this world. Every invention, every important idea, every improvement to human life came from someone who thought differently than everyone else. Copying others keeps you trapped in mediocrity forever. When you think independently, you see solutions that others miss completely. Your brain is not locked into the same patterns as everyone else. You create ideas that never existed before. You become valuable because you offer something unique that cannot be found anywhere else. People who only copy others will never be as powerful or successful as someone who thinks new thoughts and creates new approaches. Independent thinking does not mean ignoring all advice or rejecting everything others have learned. It means processing information through your own judgment instead of accepting it blindly. You can listen to what others say, consider their perspectives, and then make your own decision about what to believe and do. You use wisdom from others as raw material, then shape it into something that fits your unique situation and values. Stop asking what other people would do when you face a decision. Sit quietly and ask what you truly believe is right based on your own values and understanding. Ignore trends and popular opinions that shift like sand in the wind. Study a problem from every angle and form your own conclusion. Trust your own judgment, even when others disagree with you. If you turn out to be wrong, you will learn valuable lessons. If you turn out to be right, you will have solved the problem in your own way. Most people fear being wrong more than they desire being right. This fear chains them to popular opinions that might be completely incorrect. An independent thinker would rather be wrong while thinking for themselves than right while blindly following the crowd. The first builds strength while the second builds weakness. Notice how much of what you believe came from your own thinking versus what you absorbed from others. Many of your opinions might just be copies of what parents, teachers, or friends told you years ago. Question these borrowed beliefs. Examine them closely. Keep the ones that survive examination and discard the ones that crumble under scrutiny. Original thinking feels uncomfortable at first because you have no crowd to hide in. You stand alone with your ideas. This vulnerability frightens most people back into the safety of copying others. But this discomfort is where growth happens. Your mind expands when you think thoughts nobody else is thinking. I know a person who solved a major problem in their town by thinking completely differently than everyone else. The town had a dangerous intersection where accidents happened constantly. The whole community said the only solution was expensive traffic signals that the town could not afford, but this person ignored the conventional wisdom and tried their own approach. They studied how people actually use the intersection and redesigned the road layout in an unusual way that cost almost nothing. It worked perfectly, and accidents dropped to almost zero. Now everyone asks this person for advice because their independent thinking gets results that copying never achieves. This person became a leader simply by refusing to think like everyone else. 8. Spend time alone in complete silence. People are afraid of silence today more than ever before. They fill every single moment with noise, chatter, and activity. They cannot sit still without doing something or talking to someone. But the strongest minds are built in silence and solitude, not in constant noise and distraction. When you sit alone with your thoughts in complete quiet, you discover who you truly are beneath all the layers of performance and pretending. Silence lets you hear your own inner voice instead of everyone else's voices drowning it out. You can think deeply about important questions without distractions pulling your attention in 1,000 directions. This practice clears away confusion like wind clearing away fog. It helps you understand what really matters to you versus what you only pretend matters because society tells you it should. Most people never do this. so they never really know themselves. They live their entire lives as strangers to their own minds. In silence, you confront truths you usually avoid. You cannot distract yourself from uncomfortable feelings or difficult questions. This confrontation is painful but necessary. The thoughts and feelings you run from in noise will chase you forever. The thoughts and feelings you face in silence will eventually make peace with you. Silence is where you process experiences, heal old wounds, and make sense of your life. Regular silence also trains your attention span and focus. When you can sit in silence for 20 minutes without getting restless or bored, your mind has developed real strength. You gain power over your own attention instead of being a slave to whatever distraction appears next. This ability to focus deeply becomes more valuable every year as most people lose it completely. Set aside 20 minutes each day to sit in complete silence. Go somewhere private where nobody will interrupt you or make demands on your attention. Do not fill this time with any activity at all. Do not read, plan, or organize anything. Just sit and observe your own thoughts. Let your mind wander wherever it wants to go. Let it settle into stillness. Some days your mind will race with worries and plans. Other days it will become peaceful and clear. Both are valuable. Do not judge your silence as good or bad. Simply practice it consistently. The first few times you try this, it will feel unbearable. Your brain will scream at you to do something, anything other than sit still. It will invent urgent tasks that suddenly seem desperately important. This resistance is normal. Your mind is not used to silence and fights against it. Keep practicing anyway. The resistance fades over time. Silence reveals insights that noise buries. Solutions to problems you have struggled with for months will suddenly appear in your mind during silent sitting. Understanding of confusing situations will crystallize. Creative ideas will bubble up from somewhere deep inside you. These gifts only come when your mind is quiet enough to hear them. Abraham Lincoln would often sit alone for hours, thinking deeply about difficult decisions that affected millions of lives. While others rushed to quick answers that felt good in the moment, he took time in silence to consider every angle of complex problems. This habit of quiet thinking made his mind so powerful that he held a breaking nation together through its darkest time. His wisdom came not from constant action, but from silent contemplation. He proved that the greatest leaders are not always the loudest talkers, but often the deepest thinkers. His silent hours shaped history more than most people's lifetime of loud activity. 9. Say no to things that waste your time. Your time is your life measured in hours and minutes. Every hour you waste doing meaningless activities is an hour of life you will never get back. Most people give their time away to anyone who asks for it. They say yes to every request, invitation, and demand without thinking about the cost. But people with strong minds guard their time like treasure because they understand its true value. Time is the only resource you cannot earn more of, no matter how hard you work. When you say yes to everything, you say no to the important things, whether you realize it or not. Your day only contains so many hours. Filling those hours with trivial activities means the important goals never get your attention. You scatter your energy in 1,000 directions and accomplish nothing great. Learning to say no focuses all your power on what truly matters. This makes you incredibly effective while others stay busy but useless. Busyness is not the same as productivity. Many people fill their entire day with activities but accomplish nothing meaningful. They confuse motion with progress. They stay busy to feel important or to avoid facing harder truths. But the strongest minds know that doing a few important things well beats doing many unimportant things poorly. Quality beats quantity in every area of life. Before you agree to anything, ask yourself one crucial question. Does this move me toward my biggest goals? If the answer is no, then say no politely but firmly. Do not feel guilty about protecting your time. Your time is precious and you must defend it from people who would waste it. Most requests are not emergencies. Most invitations are not opportunities. Most demands on your time benefit someone else more than they benefit you. Saying no feels uncomfortable because humans naturally want to please others and avoid conflict. But every time you say yes when you should say no, you betray yourself. You choose someone else's priorities over your own. You teach people that your time has no value and they can waste it freely. Eventually, you wake up and realize years have passed without progress toward anything you actually cared about. Learn to say no without apologizing or making excuses. A simple, "No, I cannot do that," works perfectly. You do not owe everyone a detailed explanation of how you spend your time. Adults should not need to justify their choices to every person who asks something of them. Some relationships will suffer when you start protecting your time. Friends who benefited from your endless availability will complain. Family members used to making demands will get upset. This discomfort reveals the truth about these relationships. Real friends and loving family will respect your boundaries. People who only valued you for what you gave them will leave. Let them go. This makes room for better relationships with people who respect you. I know a person who started saying no to every request that did not match their main purpose in life. Friends got upset at first and accused them of being selfish. Family members complained that they had changed and become distant, but this person held firm and protected their time. Within 2 years, they accomplished more than they had in the previous 10 years. They finished projects they had abandoned. They built skills they had always wanted. Their focused mind became so strong and their results so impressive that everyone wanted to learn their secret. The same people who criticized them for saying no eventually asked how they became so successful. The answer was always the same. They stopped wasting time on things that did not matter. 10. Set goals that scare you. Small goals create small lives filled with small accomplishments that nobody remembers. When you only aim for what feels safe and easy, your mind never grows strong. You stay inside your comfort zone where nothing challenges you to improve. But when you set goals so big they terrify you, your mind must expand to even imagine reaching them. Impossible goals force you to become a completely different person than who you are today. Huge goals force you to learn new skills you never thought you needed. They make you think in new ways and question assumptions you never examined before. They push you past every limit you thought you had. Even if you fail to reach the goal completely, you become far more powerful than you were before trying. Failing to reach an impossible goal still puts you way ahead of people who only succeeded at safe goals. Most people set goals based on what seems realistic or achievable. They look at where they are now and imagine a slightly better version of themselves. This thinking keeps them trapped in mediocrity. Your current self cannot imagine what your future self might accomplish if you really push yourself. Small thinking produces small results. Notice the goals that make your heart pound with a mixture of excitement and fear. These are the goals worth pursuing. If a goal does not scare you, at least a little bit, it probably will not change you very much. Fear is a signal that growth lives on the other side of that challenge. The bigger the fear, the bigger the potential transformation. Write down one goal that seems almost impossible but excites you deeply when you imagine achieving it. Make it specific and concrete, not vague and wishy-washy. Instead of get in shape, write run a full race without stopping. Instead of be successful, write build a business that serves 1,000 customers. Break this enormous goal into smaller steps that you can actually take this week. Work on it every single day, even if you only make tiny progress. Progress compounds over time. Believe you can reach this goal even when everyone says you cannot, and when your own doubts scream that you are being ridiculous. Big goals also attract different types of people into your life. People with small goals surround themselves with others who think small and never challenge them. People with huge goals attract ambitious people who inspire and push each other to greater heights. Your peer group shapes your results more than almost anything else. Expect people to doubt your big goals. They will tell you to be realistic and protect yourself from disappointment. They will list all the reasons your goal is impossible. These people are not trying to hurt you. They are projecting their own fears and limitations onto you. Smile politely and ignore their doubts. Use their skepticism as fuel to prove them wrong. John Kennedy stood before America and announced they would put a person on the moon and bring them back safely, even though nobody had any idea how to actually do it yet. The technology did not exist. The knowledge had not been discovered. The goal seemed crazy and impossible to most people. Scientists said it could not be done in the time frame he promised. But this enormous goal forced thousands of brilliant minds to think in completely new ways and solve problems nobody had ever solved before. They invented new technologies and discovered new methods. They achieved the impossible because the goal demanded it. If Kennedy had set a small, realistic goal like improving existing rockets slightly, none of those breakthroughs would have happened. The impossible goal unlocked impossible achievements. His terrifying goal literally launched humanity beyond Earth and proved that humans can accomplish anything if the goal is big enough to inspire maximum effort. 11. Teach others what you learn. When you learn something new and keep it to yourself, you only understand it halfway. Your brain thinks it knows the concept because it recognizes the words and can follow along when someone else explains it. But when you teach that concept to someone else, you must understand it completely and deeply. Teaching forces your mind to organize knowledge clearly and fill in gaps you did not know existed. Until you can explain an idea simply enough that anyone can understand it, you have not truly mastered it yourself. Explaining ideas makes you find the holes in your understanding. You discover what you really know thoroughly and what you only thought you knew. When someone asks a question about what you are teaching, you either have a solid answer or you realize you need to study that part more deeply. This process makes your knowledge solid and unshakable instead of vague and fuzzy. Plus, teaching others multiplies your impact on the world far beyond what you could accomplish alone. Teaching also cements the knowledge permanently in your own mind. You might forget something you learned once from a book. You will never forget something you taught to 10 different people. The act of explaining concepts over and over burns them into your memory. Teachers often say they learned more from teaching than they ever learned as students. This happens because teaching is active while learning passively is passive. After you learn anything valuable, find someone to teach it to. This does not mean giving formal lessons in a classroom. Simply share the knowledge in conversation. Explain the concept to a friend or family member. Write about it. Discuss it with anyone who will listen. Answer their questions as clearly as possible. Notice where you struggle to explain certain parts. Then go study those sections more deeply until you truly understand them. Make teaching a regular habit rather than something you do occasionally. Teaching improves your communication skills in every area of life. When you practice explaining complex ideas simply, you become better at expressing yourself in all situations. People understand you more clearly. Your words carry more weight. You become persuasive and influential because you have trained your mind to communicate with precision. You do not need to be an expert to teach. You only need to know more than the person you are teaching. Someone who learned something yesterday can teach someone who has not learned it yet. Do not wait until you have perfect mastery before sharing knowledge. Start teaching as soon as you learn something worth sharing. Be patient with people you teach. Remember how confused you felt when you first encountered these ideas. Explain the same concept multiple ways until they understand. Encourage their questions. Make them feel safe admitting confusion. The best teachers create environments where learning feels natural and comfortable rather than stressful and scary. Teaching keeps you humble because it reminds you how difficult learning can be. When you watch someone struggle with a concept that now seems obvious to you, you remember that you struggled with the same concept once. This builds empathy and patience. These qualities make you a better person in all your relationships. Socrates became one of history's greatest thinkers, not by hoarding knowledge in his own mind, but by constantly teaching others through questions and conversations in the marketplace. Teaching sharpened his thinking like a blade on a stone. Every question his students asked forced him to think more deeply. Every explanation he gave strengthened his own understanding. His thinking became so powerful and clear that it shaped human thought for thousands of years after his death. His legacy did not come from what he knew privately, but from what he taught publicly. He proved that the greatest way to master knowledge is to give it away freely to anyone willing to learn. 12. Watch and listen before you speak. Most people talk constantly and listen barely at all. They are so busy speaking and waiting for their turn to speak that they learn absolutely nothing from conversations. They interrupt others, finish other people's sentences, and talk over anyone who tries to share information. But the strongest minds belong to people who observe carefully and speak only when they have something valuable to say. Silent observation teaches more than endless talking ever could. Watching and listening teaches you how the world really works beyond the surface. You see patterns that others miss because they are too busy talking to pay attention. You understand people's true intentions by observing what they do rather than just accepting what they say. Actions reveal truth while words often hide it. You gather wisdom while everyone else is just making noise. When you finally speak, your words carry tremendous weight because they are rare and thoughtful rather than common and careless. Listening shows respect that makes people trust you. When you truly listen to someone without interrupting or planning your response while they talk, they feel valued. This builds relationships stronger than any amount of clever conversation. People remember those who listened to them far more than those who talked at them. In every situation, watch for twice as long as you talk. Pay attention to what people do, not just what they say. Notice small details that others overlook. Notice who speaks first and who stays silent. Notice who interrupts and who waits patiently. Notice facial expressions, body movements, and tones of voice. All these details tell you things that words never reveal. Ask yourself what is really happening beneath the surface of the obvious. Only speak when you have thought carefully about your words and have something worth contributing. Watching teaches you about cause and effect. You see what actions lead to what results. You notice which behaviors create success and which create failure. This knowledge becomes incredibly valuable because it comes from observation rather than theory. Books can tell you how things should work. Watching shows you how things actually work in real life. Silent people often understand more than talkative people because they invest their energy in learning rather than performing. Talking feels productive but often accomplishes little. Watching feels passive but builds understanding that eventually leads to wisdom. Before you speak in any situation, ask yourself 3 questions. Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? If you cannot answer yes to all 3 questions, stay silent. This simple rule eliminates most speech that wastes time and damages relationships. Your words become powerful because you use them sparingly and thoughtfully. I know a person who barely spoke in meetings at work but watched everything closely. While others argued loudly and interrupted each other constantly, this person studied the situation and listened to every perspective. They noticed patterns that the talkers missed. They understood the real problems beneath the surface complaints. When they finally did speak after 30 minutes of silence, everyone in the room stopped and listened carefully because their observations were always valuable and insightful. Their quiet mind became the most respected in the room. Eventually, they became the leader everyone turned to for wisdom because they knew when to stay silent and when to speak. Their power came not from talking the most, but from understanding the most. 13. Choose the harder path on purpose. Life gives you constant choices between easy and hard paths every single day. Most people always pick the easy option, then wonder why they feel weak and unhappy. They choose comfort over growth at every opportunity, but difficulty builds strength in your mind the same way lifting heavy weights builds strength in your muscles. Choosing hard things on purpose transforms your mind into something extraordinary that can handle any challenge. Easy choices make your life comfortable right now, but miserable later when you realize you never grew or improved. Hard choices make your life difficult right now, but amazing later when you discover how strong you have become. When you deliberately choose difficulty, you build the mental muscle to handle anything life throws at you. Challenges become opportunities instead of threats. Problems become puzzles to solve rather than disasters to fear. Your brain grows only when challenged beyond its current abilities. Easy tasks use the neural pathways you already have. Hard tasks force your brain to build new pathways and connections. This is literally how your mind becomes stronger and smarter. Every time you choose the hard path, you are building a more powerful brain. Look for ways to make your life slightly harder in small ways. Take the stairs instead of looking for the elevator. Do the difficult task first thing in the morning instead of avoiding it all day. Wake up 30 minutes earlier than you want to. Have the uncomfortable conversation instead of hiding from conflict. Choose the path with more resistance. These small acts of choosing difficulty compound over time into tremendous mental strength. Most people drift toward comfort and ease like water flowing downhill. They make hundreds of tiny choices each day that favor convenience over growth. These choices seem harmless individually, but combine to create a weak character. You must actively choose difficulty because your natural tendency pulls you toward easy options. Difficulty also builds confidence that nothing else can create. When you do hard things regularly, you prove to yourself that you are capable and strong. This evidence becomes unshakable self-belief. Someone who only does easy things never knows if they could handle difficulty, so they live in constant doubt about their abilities. Embrace discomfort as a signal that you are growing. If something feels too easy and comfortable, you are probably not challenging yourself enough. The growth zone lives just outside the comfort zone, where things feel difficult but not impossible. Spend most of your time in this growth zone. Do not choose difficulty that serves no purpose just to prove how tough you are. Choose difficulty that leads somewhere meaningful. Train hard for a specific goal. Learn a difficult skill that opens new opportunities. Have tough conversations that strengthen important relationships. Make difficult decisions that align with your values. Purposeful difficulty builds strength while random suffering just wastes time. Spartan children in ancient Greece were raised with deliberate hardship from birth. They trained in cold weather without warm clothes, endured hunger intentionally, and practiced fighting through pain on purpose. To modern people, this seems cruel and unnecessary. But this difficult upbringing built minds and bodies so strong that Spartan warriors became legendary throughout history. 300 Spartan soldiers once held off an army of many thousands because difficulty had made them unstoppable. Their enemies had superior numbers and resources, but the Spartans had superior minds forged through years of choosing the harder path. While other armies fled at the first sign of trouble, Spartans stood firm because difficulty was their normal state. They prove that deliberately chosen hardship creates strength that luxury and comfort can never build. 14. Repeat good actions until they become automatic. Your mind runs on habits every single day. Everything you do regularly becomes automatic and easy because your brain creates efficient pathways for repeated actions. Most people build weak habits by accident through carelessness, then wonder why life feels hard. They develop habits of complaining, procrastinating, and making excuses without even realizing it. But you can build powerful habits on purpose that make strength automatic. When your good habits are strong enough, success requires almost no effort. When a good action becomes a habit, you no longer need willpower or motivation to do it. It just happens naturally without thinking, like breathing or walking. This means you can stack dozens of powerful habits until your whole life runs on automatic excellence. While others struggle with every decision and drain their willpower making basic choices, you glide forward effortlessly because good behaviors happen automatically. Willpower is a limited resource that gets used up throughout the day. Making decisions drains it. Resisting temptation depletes it. By evening, most people have no willpower left and make terrible choices, but habits do not require willpower. A strong habit executes automatically whether you feel motivated or not. This is why successful people often credit their habits rather than their willpower. Pick one powerful action and do it at the exact same time in the exact same way every single day. Never miss a day for at least 60 days straight. Mark each day on a calendar with a big check mark. This visual chain of check marks motivates you to keep going because you do not want to break the streak. After about 2 months of daily repetition, the action becomes part of who you are. Your brain accepts it as normal. Then add another habit using the same method. Start with small habits that take less than 5 minutes. Do not try to build 10 major habits at once. This guarantees failure. Build one small habit solidly, then add another. One tiny habit compounded over years creates massive change. 5 tiny habits compounded create a completely transformed life. Link new habits to existing routines to make them stick. If you already drink coffee every morning, add your new habit immediately after the coffee. Your brain will connect the two actions and the new habit will piggyback on the established routine. This technique makes habit building much easier. Bad habits work the same way but in reverse. They happen automatically and feel effortless because you have repeated them so many times. Breaking bad habits requires interrupting the automatic pattern and replacing it with something better. This feels hard at first, but becomes easier with repetition. Your habits reveal your character more accurately than your goals or intentions. Anyone can claim they want to be successful. Your daily habits show whether you actually mean it. Someone who wakes early, exercises, reads, and works focused every day will succeed no matter what obstacles appear. Someone who sleeps late, skips exercise, watches television, and procrastinates will fail no matter how much they claim to want success. I know a person who decided to build 5 morning habits that would transform their life. They committed to waking early, exercising for 20 minutes, reading for 15 minutes, writing for 10 minutes, and planning their day for 5 minutes, in that exact order, every single morning for 1 full year. At first, it felt like torture. They had to drag themselves out of bed. Every action required fierce willpower. They wanted to quit after the first week, but they persisted anyway. After 2 months, the routine started feeling easier. After 6 months, they did it without thinking. Now, these 5 actions happen automatically every morning without any willpower required. Their mind became so disciplined through this practice that impossible goals now seem easy. They accomplish more before breakfast than most people accomplish in a whole day. Their success looks like magic to others, but it is just the power of habits built deliberately through patient repetition.